Disclaimer: the following video is for educational and research purposes and should be regarded as educational entertainment. It in no way glorifies the actions that take place in this video. The video you're about to watch is my personal take on the Elliot Rodger story and is heavily influenced by his 141-page manifesto. You see, history is written by the victor, but occasionally the victim will always get his page. Which brings us to yet another file that I found mysteriously on my desk. The file's name, The Killer Virgin. And once I opened it, there was no turning back.
Hey, Elliot Rodger here.
And my problem is girls. I am the ultimate gentleman.
Tomorrow is the day of retribution.
First images of the terrifying moments in this college town with a gunman on a rampage.
Multiple gunshot victims in front of the Ivy Deli.
If I had it in my power, I would stop at nothing to reduce every single one of you to mountains of skulls and rivers of blood.
May 23rd, 2014, Isla Vista, California. 22-year-old Elliot Rodger takes to the streets, and the once quiet town of Isla Vista was now a hunting ground, and Elliot was out for blood. How does a young man with what seemed like a picture-perfect life of luxury, fame, and wealth turn into a mass killer who killed 7 people, including himself, and wounded 14 others? Was Elliot Rodger a mass killer waiting to be brought to heel, or was he a mentally deranged young man crying for help in his YouTube vlogs?
Hey, Elliot Rodger here.
There's only one way to find out. That's to go back to the beginning. My name is Inspector Truman, and welcome to the twisted mind of Elliot Rodger. Elliot Oliver Robertson Rodger was born July 24, 1991, in London Hospital to Peter Rodger and Lee Chen Rodger. After a couple of years of living in London, on his 4th birthday, Elliot's father decided to move his family to America to pursue his dream on becoming a movie director. And so after a while of planning, the Rodgers finally moved to the United States of America to begin a new chapter of their lives. It was not until his 7th birthday in 1998 that Elliot's world would change forever. Elliot claimed that up to this point his life was picture perfect. Shortly after his 7th birthday, Elliot's mother would tell him that she and his father were getting a divorce, where she, Elliot, and his sister would move out of their lavish woodland home into a much smaller house in Topanga, and they would have a chance to visit their father during the weekends. A few months later, Elliot's father would introduce him to Sumaya, his girlfriend and soon-to-be second wife, where Elliot said in his manifesto, and I quote, "Because of my father's acquisition of a new girlfriend, my little mind would get the impression that my father was a man that women found attractive. As he was able to find a new girlfriend in such a short period of time from divorcing my mother, I subsequently held my father in high regard because of this." Elliot grew accustomed to Sumaya, and his life normalized after the divorce. At the age of 9, Elliot would start to get insecure with the fact that he was the shortest in his class, as well as physically weaker than his peers, and this started to affect his self-esteem. When he was in elementary school, he was always jealous of the cool kids and hated how popular they were, something that Elliot thought he could never achieve even if he tried. At the age of 13, Elliot discovered the game World of Warcraft that he played to pass the time and interact with a small friend group. At the age of 14, he would join high school, but Elliot failed to make any friends, and he was a loner most of the time. Then, the high school bullies came. Elliot said in his manifesto, and I quote, "I had my first experience of true bullying, not just the teasing I had in Pinecrest. Some horrible 12th graders saw me as a target because I looked like a 10-year-old, and I was physically weak. They threw food at me during lunchtime and after school. It enraged me, but I was too scared to do anything about it." Life in high school progressively got hard for Elliot, where people even in his own grade would tease him and call him names because he was terrified of girls. Elliot would immerse himself in the world of Warcraft as a means of escaping his bullies and all his sexual frustrations, and he would cry himself to sleep because he thought his life was miserable. The bullying situation made Elliot switch schools twice, where he ended up in a small school in San Jose called Independence High School, where he would later graduate. One day, while Elliot was walking home, a group of boys threw eggs at him. In retaliation, Elliot threw one of the broken eggs at their car, and as the bully stepped out of the car to confront him, he armed himself with a pocket knife. Seeing this, the boys retreated to safety, and this incident made Elliot feel very powerful. Around the age of 18, Elliot decided to improve his life so he could attract women. So from his allowance, he bought expensive clothes. His father taught him how to drive because he thought that would make him more attractive to women. However, his efforts bore no fruits. It was also around this time that he started his infamous YouTube vlogs, where he would either record himself driving around or in the park reminiscing about his childhood or how the world is so unfair.
Elliot Rodger here. And here I am at Serrania Park. The most significant place of my childhood. No one accepts me. All my life I've been struggling to fit in with the popular kids. I've been struggling to get a girlfriend. No one has ever accepted me.
The more Elliot tried to attract a girlfriend, the more he hated his life because he couldn't seem to get the attention no matter how much he tried. This made him feel like a failure and an outcast from his peers. At this point in his life, he had a few friends from the game World of Warcraft. He also desired attention from the female gender. And he developed a very deep hatred for any one of his peers who were doing well socially. Even his childhood companions, who had stories of social success, to Elliot Rodger, they quickly became the enemy, and he would immediately cut ties with them because he thought they would look down upon him due to the lack of a social life. At this time, Elliot would start his college education, but due to the lack of a social life and his hatred towards young couples around his campus, he would sink into a deep depression and drop out twice from 2 different schools. After he watched the movie Alpha Dog, he picked up the idea to go study in Santa Barbara. He said in his manifesto, and I quote, "It was all because I watched the movie Alpha Dog. The movie had a profound effect on me because it depicted lots of good-looking young people enjoying pleasurable lives. I thought about it for many months afterwards, and I consistently read about the story online. I found out that it took place in Santa Barbara, which prompted me to read about the college life in Santa Barbara." End of quote. Elliot believed that his only hope of getting laid and finding a girlfriend was in the small town of Isla Vista, because according to his own research, the small college town was filled with young beautiful college girls and all the parties he could ever want. Elliot said to himself he must have this. So after convincing his parents on the idea of moving to Isla Vista and studying at Santa Barbara City College, they all agreed and Elliot's dream was now a reality. But little did Elliot know that this was where his life would take a turn for the worst. To make him feel more confident and to uplift his self-worth, his parents provided him with a BMW 3 Series coupe, where he said, and I quote, "To make me feel more confident, my mother provided me with a much better car to drive in Santa Barbara, a BMW 3 Series coupe. I had always wanted this since I cared a lot about my appearance. I had been asking my parents for a more upper-class car ever since I found out that there was a car hierarchy and that some students at my college drove better cars than others. Now I was one of the students with a better high-class car." Life in Santa Barbara for Elliot Rodger didn't go as planned. In fact, it was even worse because no matter how much he tried to get the attention of the girls, he was always disappointed.
I've been going through college for 2.5 years now. And in those 2.5 years, I've had to rot in bleak and sad loneliness, while other guys get to enjoy all the pleasures of, sex and socializing and partying. I've never had a taste of that because no girls give me a chance.
Hey, Elliot Rodger here. Right now I'm just taking a walk through the park in this really nice, secluded area. I'm just contemplating about my life and how unfair it's been lately. Hell, it's been unfair for the last 8 years, ever since I hit puberty. Ever since I started desiring girls, but they never desired me back.
He had no friends, he hated his roommates, and he was still lonely, unfulfilled, and depressed. The key point was the level of narcissism that Elliot was exhibiting up to this point. Let's break it down. 1. Narcissism is selfishness involving a sense of entitlement, a lack of empathy, and a need for admiration as characterizing a personality type. 2. In Elliot's mind, he was magnificent. He was the ultimate gentleman. Hence, he felt that this entitled him to get all the attention he wanted.
I'm polite. I'm the ultimate gentleman. And yet, you girls, you never give me a chance. I don't know why. You know, I put a lot of effort into dressing nice. These sunglasses here were $300. Giorgio Armani. So I'll put them on. See?
He felt that just because he was a good guy, that automatically would grab the attention of all the blondes that he so desperately desired. He wanted attention just like any narcissist individual would, hence the fancy car, the clothes, and the expensive lifestyle. Elliot still wouldn't get the attention he so desired. Now his reasoning was that he needed to get wealth, so he could earn the respect of his peers and the attention of the blonde girls in his college. He said, and I quote, "I wish to make up for all the years of my youth that I wasted in bleak loneliness. And by doing so, I would get revenge on anyone who thought they were better than me. Just by becoming better than them through the accumulation of wealth. I believed that the only way for me to attain this wealth at the time was to win the lottery." Since Elliot knew he had no talent in the arts, and the chances of him starting a business that was going to make him millions within a year were slim to none, he decided to invest his money in something I call America's biggest scam, and that is the Mega Millions lottery. He would drive all the way from California to Arizona to buy tickets, only to be disappointed. But in his head, he had this on his mind. As I sat meditating in my room, I imagined the ecstasy I would feel as scores of beautiful girls look at me with admiration. As I drive up to college in a Lamborghini, such an experience would make up for everything. I had to win this jackpot. As the jackpot reached over 200 million, I spent more of my saved money on lottery tickets, but I still didn't win. So he kept spending and losing while still hating everybody else. That was not the only agenda on Elliot's mind. He went as far as to try to convince his own mother to marry one of the multi-millionaires in California so he could be embedded in a class of wealthy people where he said, and I quote, "I continued to pester her to get married so I could be part of an upper-class family and enjoy all the benefits that come with that. But she always refused, claiming that she never wants to get married due to her unpleasant experience with my father. I told her that she should suffer through any negative aspects of marriage just for my sake, because it would completely save my life, but she still refused." Elliot wanted the money, thinking he could buy fame, friends, and most importantly, a woman's love. But due to the continuous loss, Elliot harbored even more anger and resentment, because in his head, he thought that he was cursed to live out his days in a glass box only to see his peers happy and fulfilled. These feelings bring us to yet another attribute of a narcissist, and that is selfishness, where selfishness is described as the act of concentrating on one's pleasure or well-being without regarding others. Well, on a fateful afternoon while Elliot was having coffee at a local Starbucks, he saw a young couple kissing, and this public display of affection angered him. So he stood up and splashed them with his coffee and ran away. On a separate afternoon, he was taking a walk in Grish Park. He saw a couple of college students having fun as they played kickball, while a couple of girls spectated and cheered. It angered him because in his twisted brain, they were having fun and enjoying the prime of their youth, while he suffered as a lonely outcast. So he went into a Kmart, bought a super soaker along with some orange juice, and splashed the innocent students. Before they could catch up with him, Elliot got into his BMW and drove off. This ultimately proved that Elliot Rodger was indeed a narcissist, and he was indeed selfish, where if he wasn't happy, no one else should. After all these incidences, Elliot felt good about himself, what he describes as, and I quote, a small sense of spiteful gratification. Up to this point, Elliot had never struck back after he was triggered. But now this is where I believe a seed was planted in young Elliot's brain, where it would soon grow into the day of retribution. What most videos fail to do is to actually recount the build up to the day of retribution. But fear not, that's where I come in. This glass represents Elliot's mind before the day of retribution. The ink is all the incidences that would drive Elliot to massacre the streets of Isla Vista. 1. Elliot had a crush on a girl by the name of Brittany in his college math class in Santa Barbara City College. And when he found out on her Facebook that she had a boyfriend, he immediately dropped the class and said, "When I dropped my college classes, I crossed a threshold that I knew existed, but I never actually believed I would cross." He continues on to say, "I realized that I will never be able to look back on my youth, the time that I should be having a blast and feel satisfied about all the happy memories I have. There was no happy memories, only misery, loneliness, rejection, and pain. The only thing I could do was even the score. I wanted to make everyone else suffer just as they made me suffer. I wanted revenge. I came up with a name for this after I saw a good-looking young couple walk around in my college in the town of Isla Vista. I named it the Day of Retribution." 2. Due to his compulsive lottery gambling addiction that I later came to find out was heavily influenced by the book The Secret and similar books about manifestation of success, where Elliot stated, and I quote, "I so happened to come across a book called The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. This book would fill me with hope for the next few months. It was very similar to The Secret, the book I read over a year ago. And it had the same effect on me. It gave me an even more in-depth view on the law of attraction. A year previously, I had given up on believing in such a concept. But I would read through this book thoroughly. I desperately convinced myself to give it a try. I wanted to believe the theory could work. I needed something to live for. I began to visualize myself winning the lottery. I did this all through the month of June. The multiple trips to Arizona to buy Mega Millions lottery tickets all failed. He had lost quite a lot of time visualizing his success and wasted his life savings on lottery tickets. And it was at this point he would claim, "I tried to overthrow them by gaining wealth at a young age. From trying to come up with invention ideas, to contemplating writing an epic story, and finally trying to win the lottery. At this time, the prospect of overthrowing them seemed hopeless. The final solution to triumph over my enemies was to destroy them, to carry out my day of retribution, to exact my ultimate and devastating vengeance against all the popular young people." 3. After not winning the Mega Millions jackpot, Elliot found peace at the bottom of a wine bottle, where he got so drunk that he spilled some on his laptop, ruining it entirely. So the next day, as he went into a store to replace his laptop, he stumbled across a gun range, and he decided to rent a handgun. But after shooting for a while, it made him sick to his stomach, and he walked out. However, the taste of power the gun gave him would make Elliot later buy his first handgun in preparation for the day of retribution. At a local gun shop, he decided to purchase a Glock 34 semi-automatic pistol, an efficient and highly accurate weapon. 4. After losing yet another lottery attempt in spring of 2013, Elliot would move to the second step of the day of retribution, and that was him buying his second gun, a SIG P226. This showed that Elliot had already sealed his fate, as he had completely gone on board with his sick, twisted idea of the day of retribution. 5. Elliot would visit an online incel community called purehate.com, where people like him agreed with his stupid ideologies on women, and this fueled him to see that he was indeed right. And to express this rage, Elliot would drive around his college town, insulting every young person he would see at the safety of his car, thus fueling his rage even more.
Here we go. Look at this. Groups of hot young sluts who would just reject me. And look at these douchebags right here. These assholes, these obnoxious little slobs. Those are the kind of guys that girls like, instead of magnificent gentlemen like myself. See, guys like this Oh wait, no. Not guys like those. Those guys were ugly as fuck, but... You see, look here. A house party. Beautiful girls talking with their frat boys. I hate them all. They think they're better than me. They'll never accept me as one of them.
6. There are 2 instances that I believe sealed the deal and made Elliot commit to his plan. The first instance was him getting beat up at a party in 2013, where he got overly drunk and tried to push some girls off a 10-foot balcony because they didn't give him the attention he felt he deserved. Hence, the boys at the party then in turn pushed him off the balcony, breaking his ankle. The same night he got into a fist fight while looking for his expensive sunglasses. Finally, the straw that broke the camel's back was an incident with his stepmother Sumaya, where he claimed, and I quote, "I had an argument with Sumaya while I was visiting my father's house. It started when she began to boast that my brother Jazz had recently been signed to an agent to act in TV commercials. She said by the time he was my age, he will be a successful actor. I talked about how Jazz was already so socially savvy for his age. I've always envied him for it. She told me that he will never have any problems with girls and he will lose his virginity while he's still young. I had to sit there and listen to this bitch tell me that my little brother will grow up enjoying the life that I've always craved for, but missed out on. It's very unfair how some boys are able to live such pleasurable lives while I never had any taste of it. And now it has been confirmed to me that my little brother will become one of them. He will become a popular kid who gets all the girls. Girls will love him. He will become one of my enemies. That was the day that I decided I would have to kill him on the day of retribution." Whatever remained of Elliot's innocence was gone, as you can tell from this glass. Elliot had made his decision and he had a plan for the day of retribution. This was the original plan, however, Elliot had to alter it at the end. He said to himself, and I quote, "On the day before the day of retribution, I will start the first phase of my vengeance, silently killing as many people as I can around Isla Vista by luring them into my apartment through some form of trickery. The first people I would have to kill are my 2 housemates to secure the entire apartment for myself as my personal torture and killing chamber. After that, I will start luring people into my apartment, knocking them out with the hammer and slitting their throats. I will torture some of the good-looking people before I kill them, assuming that the good-looking ones have the best sex lives. All that pleasure they had in life. I would punish by bringing them pain and suffering. I have lived a life of pain and suffering. It was time to bring that pain to people who actually deserved it. I will cut them, fillet them, strip all the skin off their flesh, and pour boiling water all over them while they're still alive, as well as any form of torture I could possibly think of. When they're dead, I will behead them and keep their heads in a bag, for their heads will play a major role in the final phase. The second phase will take place on the day of retribution itself. Just before the climactic massacre, the second phase will represent my war on women. I will punish all the females for the crime of depriving me of sex. Alpha Phi sorority is full of hot, beautiful blonde girls. The kind of girls I've always desired, but was never able to have because they always look down upon me. They're all spoiled, heartless, wicked bitches. They think they're superior to me. And if I ever tried to ask one on a date, they all would reject me in a cruel manner. I will sneak into their house at around 9 p.m. on the day of retribution, just before all the partying starts, and slaughter every single one of them with my guns and knives. If I have time, I will set the whole house on fire. Then we shall see who the superior one really is. The final phase of the day of retribution will be my ultimate showdown on the streets of Isla Vista. On the morning before, I will drive down to my father's house to kill my little brother, denying him of the chance to grow up to surpass me, along with my stepmother Sumaya, as she will be in the way. I will switch over to my father's Mercedes SUV, driving it back to Isla Vista. I will use it as my killing machine against my enemies. An SUV will cause a lot more damage than my BMW. I will then make my way to Del Playa, splattering as many of my enemies as I can with the SUV, and shooting anyone I don't splatter. I can only imagine how sweet it will be to ram the SUV into all the young groups of popular young people who have always witnessed walking right in the middle of the road as if they were better than everyone else. Once I reach Little Playa Street, I will dump the bag of severed heads I had saved from my previous victims, proclaiming to everyone how much they made me all suffer. Once they see all their friends' heads roll onto the streets, everyone will fear me as the powerful god I am. I will pull up next to a house party and fire bullets at everyone partying in the front yard. I will specifically target the good-looking people and all the couples. After I have destroyed the house party, I will continue down the Ply, destroying everything and everyone. When I see the first police car come to their rescue, I will drive away as fast as I can until I find a suitable place to finally end my life. To end my life, I will quickly swallow all the Xanax and Vicodin pills I have left, along with an ample amount of hard liquor. Immediately after ingesting this mixture, I will shoot myself in the head with 2 of my handguns simultaneously. If the gunshots don't delete me, the deadly drugs will. I will not suffer being captured and sent to prison. That was the plan Elliot had originally conceived. The word insane fails to express the magnitude of what I've just read. What most people don't know, that all the above was supposed to kick off on April 24th, 2014. But due to the change in his father's schedule, where he knew he would hesitate in killing Sumaya and Jazz because his father would be in the way, and his mother had seen his videos, and that preempted her to call mental health officials, who alerted the police to check on his son. But since Elliot was a master of manipulation, as most narcissists are, he convinced the police that he was okay and no one was supposed to worry about anything. If only the police had set foot in his apartment and seen his journals and his weapons, then all the victims would have been saved. To reduce suspicion, Elliot removed his videos and tore up his journals in an effort to stay discreet, but he vowed to re-upload each video on the day of retribution. A day before Elliot went on his rampage, he recorded his last video. Some sort of goodbye video to his audience. And a warning for what was about to come.
Hi. Elliot Rodger here. Well, this is my last video. It all has to come to this. Tomorrow is the day of retribution. The day in which I will have my revenge against humanity. Against all of you. For the last 8 years of my life, ever since I've hit puberty, I've been forced to endure an existence of loneliness, rejection, and unfulfilled desires, all because girls have never been attracted to me. Girls gave their affection and sex and love to other men, but never to me. I'm 22 years old and I'm still a virgin. Girls, all I've ever wanted was to love you and to be loved by you. I've wanted a girlfriend. I've wanted sex. I've wanted love, affection, adoration. But you think I'm unworthy of it. That's a crime that can never be forgiven. If I can't have you, girls, I will destroy you. You forced me to suffer all my life, and now I'll make you all suffer. I've waited a long time for this. I'll give you exactly what you deserve, all of you. All you girls who rejected me and looked down upon me and, treated me like scum while you gave yourselves to other men. And all of you men for living a better life than me. All of you sexually active men. I hate you. I hate all of you. I can't wait to give you exactly what you deserve. Utter annihilation.
During the day of retribution, Elliot had a plan, and he carried out his plan in stages and steps, so pay close attention, it's about to get real. It all started here, at Elliot's apartment building in Isla Vista. Step 1. He started by killing his roommate's friend George Chan by stabbing him approximately 94 times and leaving him in a pool of his own blood. Step 2. He then proceeded to kill his 2 roommates, Wei-Han Wang and Chen Hong, by stabbing them multiple times and leaving them covered in bedsheets and clothes. Step 3. He then uploaded his last video and his 141-page manifesto, sending it to family and former friends. He then went to a nearby coffee house and bought a cup of coffee, and at 9:15 p.m. he took to the streets of Isla Vista. He got into his BMW and drove all the way to the Alpha Phi sorority, which is right over here, where his aim was to kill every girl at the house in cold blood. But after knocking for about 3 minutes straight, no one answered. Step 4. Since no one answered, Elliot decided to leave, but just when he was about to disembark, he spotted 3 girls outside the sorority, 19-year-old Veronica Ways and 23-year-old Katie Cooper. And without any hesitation, Elliot Rodger gunned down the women in cold blood, leaving them to die in a pool of their own blood. Veronica and Katie died from multiple gunshots, but the 3rd victim would survive. Step 5. At 9:27 p.m., police would respond to the gunshots heard in the area of Embarcadero del Norte and Paradol Road, but they were too late. By this time, Elliot had walked to a nearby Isla Vista Deli Mart and started raining bullets on students who were shopping for their late-night meal. Inside, all but one student would survive. 20-year-old Christopher Martinez, a student at UCSB. Step 6. Elliot ran to his car, and as the police spotted him fleeing eastbound in Paradol, which is from here, Elliot drove down the streets of Isla Vista, shooting at innocent civilians and plowing through them in his car, where he injured multiple people. When Elliot got to Del Playa Road, the police engaged him in a shootout. However, it didn't stop him. Sabado Tarde Road, which is over here. Elliot was still shooting from his car and trying to mow down as many passerbys as he could. And it was at this point that a police officer fired at Elliot's car, and one bullet entered the car, injuring Elliot on his upper thigh, but that didn't faze him. Step 7. 9:35 p.m. Del Playa Road. That'll be right over here. Elliot crashed his car into the back of a parked Jeep, where Elliot Rodger decided to end it all by taking his own life with a self-inflicted gunshot to the head. His reign of terror was over, but upon entering the car, the police found 3 pistols, knives, 6 empty 10-round magazines, 548 rounds of unspent ammunition, and his iPhone 4 that had his infamous vlogs and 200 selfies. At the end of Elliot's reign of terror, 7 people were dead, and that is including himself, and 14 others were wounded. To the families that lost their loved ones to this monster, may you find peace and may their souls rest in peace. In the beginning I said that history is written by the victor, but occasionally the victim will always get his page. Elliot got his page, but he got his page as a coward who took the lives of 6 people and altered 14 more. And when he was done, he took his own life, so he doesn't face the consequences of his action. That, in my opinion, is the longest definition of a coward. However, there are some twisted people who regard him as a hero, but in my book, he will forever be a coward. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it looks like this case is closed, and my time here is up. It was a pleasure having you along for this case. Till next time, always remember to keep trekking, fam. Unknown number. Who's this? Hello?
Inspector Truman, let me cut to the chase. I have a case for you. The worst serial killer to ever walk the earth with a kill count that's unknown. Some say it's over 250 people. His name is Dr. Death. So are you interested?
When do I start?